Welcome to the Code with Jason meetup. Today we're going to be doing some good old SaturnCI coding. I'll share my screen and I'll describe what we got going on. Make my font a little bit bigger. Okay, so for the last several sessions, I've been working on being able to SSH into one of the machines that runs the jobs. And sorry, I gotta check my email because it might be something related to this meeting. No, it's not. Um, okay. So when a build runs, it runs in some number of parallel jobs. Right now, the parallelism happens to be set to 2. And so when a build runs, there are 2 virtual machines that run on DigitalOcean. The term is droplet. It's a DigitalOcean droplet. And I want the ability to conveniently SSH into a droplet. So there's a certain command that I'm trying to make work. I want to be able to run this command. That's not going to work, so I shouldn't hit enter. Um, I want to be able to say job and then give it a job ID and say SSH, and I want that to throw me into an SSH console. And significantly, I want to not have to type in a password. So we're getting SSH keys working is the current task. And I don't remember where I left off last time, so I'll have to remind myself. Okay, so my memory, yeah, okay. So when a job kicks off, it generates an RSA key. But my problem is that even though right here I'm passing my SSH key ID to this droplet, I should include a bit more context actually. This command in the DigitalOcean SDK apparently creates an SSH key on DigitalOcean. And then when I initialize a droplet, I can say, hey, use such and such SSH key. But the thing is, I wanted to verify that this was working. And so there's like some command where you can supposedly get the SSH keys that are associated with the droplet. But it seemed like no matter what I did, the SSH keys would always be empty. I did some research, and apparently, according to what I read on a forum, it's like some bug. It's some bug in DigitalOcean. And so maybe I'm not going to be able to verify it that way. So I'm going to have to do something different. Excuse me. Um, so I think what I want to do is just create the SSH key and then attempt to use it. That'll give me, that'll at least tell me something. If it's successful, then I'll know it was successful. And if it's not successful, then of course something went wrong along the way, although I don't know yet how to tell what. But first, let's just give it a try. So when I create my RSA keys, they end up in this folder. And I think what I'm going to do right now is delete everything that's currently there. Oops. So that when a new one gets created, I can easily see what's what and all that. And the way that I'm going to create a new job is to rerun a past build. Okay. So supposedly that kicked off some jobs. Let's see if it really did. Okay, it did. Um, and then if I look in temp Saturn CI, yeah, I see two RSA keys, one for each job. Okay. Now, when I SSH into a machine, how do I use an RSA key? I don't know. So I'm going to ask ChatGPT. And also, let's do this. Job, this first job, SSH. I don't remember what this SSH. Yeah, that's it. Okay, that's actually what I was hoping to see. The SSH command right now doesn't actually work, doesn't actually SSH, but it does give me some info about the job, including the IP address. And in order to SSH into the machine, we're of course going to need its IP address. How can I SSH into, I'm just going to put the IP address here, SSH into that IP address using one of the RSA keys listed. Mm, yeah, okay. chmod 400. Just do that to everything. Okay. And I think the user I want to do is root. My guess is that it's going to not work. Let's see what happens. What? It actually worked. That is very surprising. Wow. Okay.
SSH, I think it requires security. So if that CH mod wasn't on there before, it actually would straight up reject your SSH keys.
Okay. I have had that happen before. Um, okay. Well, let's take the thing we just did manually and let's bit by bit make it automated. So I'm going to go into the Saturn CLI client class. I'm going to go into the SSH command or whatever. I'm going to say system this here. Okay. I don't want all this to be hard coded. Um, Trying to think. What's the simplest way I could get this working? Um, well, I can replace this with the job ID, and I can replace this with the job's IP address. Job IP address. Okay. That might actually just work. Um, Provided that for that RSA key, I've done the chmod 400 first. Okay. So if I run SaturnCI jobs, I'm expecting, oh, there still is something there. Okay. Okay. So what if I do the SSH thing now, just like that? Permission denied. Okay. Oh, and it's saying it's not acceptable because it's using like the shortened ID. So let's fix that. Job ID. That should give us the full ID. Okay. Seems like it worked. Crazy. Wow. Okay. I'm going to do that again just because this is so unbelievable. Yeah. Okay. The connection is like really slow or something. Whoops. I don't even know why I'm doing who am I? I know who I am. I'm root. Um, but there was like, hmm, the directory structure seems alien to me. I don't understand what I'm looking at or why this is what it is. I'm like kind of skeptical that I am where I think I am. Okay, let's maybe like verify that we are where we think we are. So if I go to my script that the job machines run, what is some like evidence that it leaves behind? Okay, project dir, user dir slash project. Okay, home Ubuntu project. Okay. Okay, it's there. Wow. Okay. This is so great. Okay, I'm gonna do some stuff on a new branch because this is kind of like a work in progress and I don't want to commit it to main just yet. Um, job SSH we'll call it, I suppose. And I don't know that I think I want to make a few small tweaks before I commit this. This actually looks okay so far. Okay, what about RSA key? I think that one's probably fine. Hmm. Okay, and then client, that's okay too. I want to unhard code this path though, because yeah, okay. Get SSH kind of working. Okay, and something that actually bothers me is some time ago I commented out this line that deletes the job machine when it's done. I thought that would make some things more convenient, and it kind of did, but it also creates more work for me. So I'm going to kill that. Uncomment line that deletes job when finished. Okay. Okay. So now I'm going to try it with a new one. And my guess is that it will not work because we've not done the chmod 400. So I'll do SaturnCI jobs, and then I'll do SaturnCI dash dash job. This one, SSH, and I'm guessing that it will not work. It did work. That's weird and slightly concerning.
It's probably getting write permissions boot from the parent folder.
Like, you think the parent is set to 400?
Didn't you set the ch mod onto the parent folder, if I'm not mistaken?
No, sir.
No?
I did this.
What's it say if you hit the parent folder for permissions?
Yeah, good question. Um,
Yeah, so the
what?
six four the six we're getting on the their read write execute on the folder and read execute I think is okay for the parent folder.
Oh, yeah, yeah. It shows the permissions for the folder here, right?
And the big thing is you're not having read on the what group in the world. Uh, Sorry, what was the ID of the one that we were looking at?
Um, that. Oh, interesting.
Yeah, your public can be read. That's not a problem. But your private is not read for world and group.
Maybe the command automatically gives it the right permissions. Like RSA key. Like maybe this keygen command when it creates that file just gives it the right permissions by default.
I wish we could see the permissions of it before you ran that command. Um,
Well, before I ran that command, the file didn't exist. This
Sorry, the
command, oh, go ahead.
I'm just saying you because you already had the RSA keys for those jobs. So I wonder where they were before you ran the ch mod on them.
No, that was a fresh one. Here, let's do the whole thing over again. RMRF.
And you did delete everything. Yeah.
Yeah, I should hit enter now, right?
that that would solve some problems.
There we go. Yeah. Okay, so now SaturnCI is empty. And if I kick off a new build, let's just rerun this one, I guess. Waiting for it to do its thing. Okay. Now there are two RSA keys here. And as we can see, they have the right permissions. Um, okay. So here's a question, just as a sanity check. What happens if we delete our keys and then try to SSH in? I would expect it to fail, obviously. And if it doesn't fail, then I question everything I know.
Then you really have problems.
Yeah. Okay, so I expect this to work. Yes. Okay, now I'll do my good old RMRF again. Okay, now if I attempt my SSH, I'm guessing that it will not work. Yep. Okay, great. Fantastic. Now let's unhard code some of the things that are hard coded that shouldn't be. Okay, so this path shouldn't be the way it is. RSA key. Yeah. Here's a question, Jonathan. Should we make it so that when a job gets kicked off, the database record for the job gets updated with the path to the RSA key to be used for SSH.
So, so what you're doing right now is that temp directory is configurable when you kick off the RSA key script there. So that to me, if you want it to be configured, should be saved somewhere, or it should not be configurable, and you just grab that constant from it. So is that something you want to be able to configure?
Is what something I want to be able to configure?
Would you want to have it so you can change that path on a job by job basis?
Oh no, I just want a non-hard coded way to know what the file path is.
So because you take it in as a parameter, to me that means that I could, for some reason, customize something somewhere to have.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah,
Yeah.
the reason I did that is because I wanted to be able to manipulate that directory and the files in it
Mhm.
in my test suite.
Okay. Um, yeah. So if the so there I guess there's kind of like an implied assumption in here somewhere that like there's nothing here that in the code that I'm seeing that says this is for dependency injection. Um, so that would probably be my only hesitation. If it were for me, I probably would just like do the job machine RSA key temperature name and as the thing you're grabbing, and
Hmm.
and that would just kind of be like hard coded into the way things run. Um, and that'd probably be my way to go unless I felt that there was a reason to make that configurable, which seems like a weird to have that be a configurable thing on a per job basis. Seems like a weird choice, so I wouldn't expect that to be the case.
Yeah, my only hesitation with that is is that it's not a guarantee that the tempter name is going to match that constant. And so I could imagine encountering surprising behavior in the test environment.
Mhm. um, yeah, so that's where you would say that then something needs to be indicated somewhere that says what that is.
I'm having a thought. Don't know if it's a good thought, but the tempter name could be an environment variable. And that way, hmm, I'm having a
Well,
hard time articulating my thought.
when you're configuring that in the test environment, what are you doing with how are you can changing that? Because I would assume that if this would be like something where you use it one way and then you throw it into a temp variable for um okay, so you're using it as the Rails temp as opposed to the system temp.
Yeah, which is, it's an arbitrary choice. It could have been anything.
Yeah,
I just wanted to put it somewhere where it wouldn't conflict.
right. Um yeah. Um Yeah, so looking at this, what I'm seeing is that there's a little bit of um, disconnect between where your code is and what you're doing with it. So because you're passing it in, you know, so I think this is most like a hygiene type thing where this by itself probably doesn't isn't a big factor. If you want to do it like this and not make any change, I almost would be like, and I hate saying this because this doesn't feel very Ruby-ish, but just throwing a comment that says that that second parameter is that temp directory parameter is for testing purposes, dependency injection, and kind of wave it off as a this isn't something that's actually real code that you're supposed to be um, doing.
I think that's actually a good idea.
My next guess would be like throw it as a private class where you do something to, um, you know, uh, send the private initializer to override it or something like that in the
Hmm.
test suite. But
Okay.
that doesn't sound like a great suggestion.
I think a comment is okay. Tempter name is configurable so that a different directory can be used in the test environment as to not conflict with the dev environment.
Actually, one way you might be able to do this, because you still want to kind of grab that as a constant to potentially use other places. I wonder if that as a um, class method that returns the directory would be good. That way you can grab it throughout the system where appropriate. Um, so you have def self dot tempter, um, and then you can do something to override that in the test environment. Might be a good way to do that though, because the problem is that this is on a. My assumption is that this is on a per RSA key basis that you're setting that temp directory. Um, but you're not doing anything to store it, so you don't. They're not connected.
That gave me a thought. Can I not just stub the tempter name constant?
Yep.
Yeah, why don't I do that? That seems like way smarter than what I was doing before. Yeah. Okay. I don't know how to do it. That's why God invented ChatGPT. Whoops, I didn't mean to do all that. Um, didn't mean to do that either. Oh no. Okay, stub temp dir name to that. How do I stub the temp dir name constant? This happens sometimes. All right. Um, rspec stub class constant. Stub const. Got machine RSA key, tempter name. Let's see if that does it.
Probably have to throw that into the
Oh,
it.
yeah, I was just doing it in the middle of nowhere. Okay. Yep. And then we, of course, don't want to do that anymore. Whoops. Um, and I guess we have to do this. Okay. No implicit conversion, line 14. Oh, not of this file, of this file. Oh, uh-huh. Okay. I am happy with that. By the way, I'm going to check on my tests. Failed. Okay. Before we do anything, let's see what's going on here. Oh, yeah, I know what's going on. I changed the way my SSH method worked, and so now my test is expecting something different. So I'll have to change that, but that doesn't have anything to do with what we just did. Clean up test. Okay. So let's go to this test. I feel it gives me a nice feeling that I use my own product to work on my product. Okay, line 22. Yeah. So we're expecting such and such, but it's not doing that. It's doing something else. I'm gonna do this. Command equals, because I think the test environment is trying to actually execute that SSH command, which is obviously not what we want. Um, I'm gonna stub that system command. Hmm. How do I stub a method that's not on an object? Yeah, it's not on a fucking class. I'm just gonna type exactly what I said. Okay. So it's suggesting that I refactor my code, which might be a decent idea. Um, so maybe I can do something like this, like app models SSH session. And I can do like SSH session, whoa, session dot new. Um, what's the word for like beginning the session? There's a word for that, right?
There might be more technical, but don't you like they put like the authorization handshake and then connect?
Hmm. Connect. Maybe let's say connect. Okay, but of course it needs some info. Initialize job ID, IP address. No, I'm not even going to say that. I know what I'm going to say. I'm going to say RSA file path. By the way, dear viewer, um, I could have done this. I could have said def initialize job, and then I'd have everything I need. But I don't think it's a good idea to do that because when you pass something, like, okay, let's say this, we have this, it's like I give the SSH session the job, but then it's like, what is it doing with that job? What does it need from that job? Does it need like 15 different attributes? Does it need like just the ID? Like, I don't know what it needs. And so, in order to understand the interface between this code, I have to go into this code and see. But if instead I just pass the RSA file path and what was it, the IP address, then it's much more clear.
Maybe being a little bit picky here,
Uh-huh.
but I think actually you're generating not RSA keys. They're different encryption. And in the future, you're probably not going to be using RSA at some point, 10 years from now. So
Mm.
that might actually be an identity file path.
Identity file. Okay. Well, perhaps I'll come back in a second and do that as a separate little refactoring. Um, okay. RSA file path equals that. And then for IP address, I can just do job IP address. Okay, and then of course I can change these. Oops. Okay. And then actually no reason not to just do it like this. That's pretty easy to understand. Okay. And then here I can just stub SSH session connect or something. Maybe I can say like allow any instance of SSH session to receive connect. I don't I don't know if I need a return, but I'll see what happens when I don't do a return. Okay, let's see what happens. Uninitialized constant SSH session. That makes sense. So we'll have to include it. Oh yeah, I put that totally in the wrong place. Let's move this file. I don't want it in app models. I want it in lib. Dot RB. Oh, that's still the wrong place. It should go in lib SaturnCI. There we go. Wait, did I? Ah, I still did it wrong. Okay. Move lib SSH session, lib Saturn CLI. Yeah. Okay. And then inside of client, I want to say require relative SSH session. Now let's see what happens. Okay. This is what I would expect. It said expected it to output blah blah blah, but it output nothing. Okay, and this is what file? SSH spec. Okay. And do I actually, what do I want to do with this test? Because at this point, it's hardly testing anything. Um, Thinking SSH session. I'm trying to think if there's anything like, is there any way to make this test actually be productive at all? I'm like stubbing the API response and I'm stubbing the SSH session stuff. So I kind of feel like this test doesn't have a way to be valuable. Any thoughts? I guess it is valuable that it parses this command. Maybe let's just output something that tells us that we did something. So, oh, how about this? Okay, def command, and we can return that. And here we can do system command. And here, SSH session equals that. SSH session dot connect, SSH session dot command. Okay, so now if we run our test, does it output? Oh, it said it output nothing. Oh yeah, puts. Okay. Yeah. But then does that create a weirdness when we actually run it for real? Okay, let me restart a build so we have a job going again. Okay, and then I'm going to do Saturn job, this job, SSH. Don't know if it's going to be ready yet. Yeah, I think it's not ready yet. Yeah, it's not ready yet. Still not ready. And that's another thing I have to do, Jonathan, is I want to make it so if you try to SSH in before it's ready, rather than giving you a raw error, it just waits and polls and says like, hey, waiting for it to be ready, blah blah blah. Okay. Okay. So what that does is just at the end, it outputs the command that it just ran. I can live with that. Okay. So I'm going to go back to my job spec. Sorry, my SSH spec. Okay, and I think I want to expect it to output like SSH-I, and then I don't really care what happens after that. I just want to know that it has output the SSH-I, but I don't know how to like, oh, you know what? This stuff is all hard coded, so that's fine. Yeah, let's do this. And then let's do a fake IP address. Um, I don't know. That might be misleading though. There, that's clearly fake. And here in the body, we want to give it not only the ID, but also the IP address. See what happens with that. I think I'm just missing the new line. Whoops. Okay. So what did we just do? I guess we did some refactoring and we fixed the SSH test. By the way, have you seen this yet, Jonathan? The SaturnCI builds command?
I have not.
It's pretty nifty if I do say so myself, because I don't have to leave the terminal in order to check on my job statuses.
What's that hitting behind the scenes? Is that like a rake task or
It's just some Ruby in the lib folder.
okay?
Yeah, and then it communicates with the API.
Nice.
Yeah, and then probably the hardest part about that whole thing was formatting this table.
I did see some of the YouTube videos, titles scroll by for the ASCII tables.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess I can expect this to take about 5 or 6 minutes, and then we'll know if it passed. Um, how do we want to occupy ourselves in the meantime? Maybe let's clean out some of these old jobs. I guess we only have about 3 minutes left anyway. Okay, so we have a lot of droplets. Let's see if I can do this. There. See if I can automatically delete some droplets. Okay, that got rid of some, but not all. I'll just delete these ones manually. And you're welcome for the entertainment. 6 down, 5 to go. Oh, but one of these is the actual, or two of these are ones that I actually want to keep running. Okay. I guess my jobs command is going to come in handy for real. Okay, 1F and 7B. Looks like maybe I already deleted them. Whoops. Okay, so we'll get these four out of here. Whoops. Okay. Don't know why that's taken so long. Hmm. All right. Well, I don't know what's up with that, but I'll take care of that in a minute. And I will delete this job and I'll kick off a new one. Except when I do a git push, everything is already up to date. I got to make some kind of arbitrary change. Um, I'll just take a leap of faith and merge. Whoops. Okay. Now the jobs that I don't want to delete are these two. Okay, so we'll delete these two.
There's a option for git commit. You can do dash dash. I think it's allow blank or allow empty, which lets you put a empty git commit in.
Oh, that is very good to know. I never knew about that because that is something that I definitely find myself wanting to do once in a while.
Um, that came in handy. I was doing some stuff with matching deploys and the curl command that pushes it to I forget if it's roll bar or honey badger or whatever, but the exact same thing where it's like doing arbitrary commits.
Okay. Yeah. I doubt that I'll remember the syntax when the time comes that I want to use it, but I do feel pretty confident that I'll at least remember that something exists that I can go look up. Okay. So this is running. And by the way, one of the things on my to-do list is to have real-time logs so we can actually watch the tests run. I think that'll be nice, but we don't have that yet. Um, and just for fun, let's SSH into one of these jobs. Whoops. Okay, and then I think I should be able to do a tail on a certain file. Var log syslog. Okay. Var log syslog. Var log syslog. Okay. Yeah. Ha. Okay, this is great. Yeah. This is just great. I'm really happy about this. Okay, so now Jonathan, let's try really hard to think back to like a month ago when I first said to myself, "Hey, it would be nice to be able to SSH into these job machines." Why did I want to do that? Okay, I'm gonna try to jog my memory. Um, I wanted to improve the performance of the jobs because if we look at this test run, does it have the timing? 22.57 seconds for one job and 13.51 seconds for the other job. So in order to run, obviously we just take the longer of the two, but in order to run 23 seconds worth of tests, it took 5 minutes. And some amount of overhead is obviously unavoidable, but I want that overhead to be as minimal as possible. One thing I did to attempt to bring down the overhead was instead of initializing a droplet and then installing Docker on it, I created my own image that has Docker pre-installed. I expected that to have a noticeable impact, but it did not. The next thing that I want to work on is caching bundle install, or maybe even caching something bigger than that. Um, like caching the entire Docker build or something like that. Yeah, it's coming back to me now. So let's look at the script. Build. Yeah, okay, so I'm going to put it at the top. At the top of the screen here, we see my Docker Compose build. I believe a good amount of that build can be cached. And so I think the impetus for building this SSH ability was because I was working on that caching, but the dev cycle was just too painful because I couldn't see what was going on. I couldn't easily see what was going on in the job. But now I can because I just SSH into the machine and then run tail dash f verilog syslog and I can see. So it looks like maybe this test run has finished, by the way, and it passed. Okay. What a triumphant note on which to end this session. So we got SSH working, the test suite passed. Now, one very last thing before we go. Let's leave ourselves a hint for next time. Um, to do next, cache some of this build. So next time I pick this up, which might be as late as next week, I can do a git diff and I can see that the next thing we want to do, oh shit. I don't know if that is the next thing, Jonathan. Next, maybe what we should do is build that functionality where if you try to
Hmm.
SSH into a job before it's ready, it gracefully waits rather than giving you a raw error.
Yep.
I don't want to do that next, but I think that would be the smart thing to do next. Okay, so let's leave a clue for that. If you try to SSH, oh, and I gotta unhard code this also. Fuck. Okay, unhard code this. If you try to SSH into a job machine before the machine is ready to accept connections, you get a raw error. We should make it um, so that instead it waits and pulls the machine periodically till it's ready and then SSHs into the machine at that time. Okay. Yes. There we go. All right. Well, even though I'm annoyed by having to do that little job, I that doesn't take away from the triumphant feeling that I feel from having gotten SSH working.
Yep.
So what a wonderful success. All right, thank you, Jonathan, for accompanying me on this glorious journey, and I will see you next time.
Take care.